Lifting and rolling the shoulders and then swaying from side to side. So we're very familiar with this. I think every yoga, therapy and Eastern tradition has its own version of this. As you move from side to side, think of moving from your navel and how much you have your arms high is up to you. And then just slow down. And come to center. Lift and roll your shoulders and just reorientate yourself. And then swirl your hands up and swirl them down the front of your body to touch the floor. Bend your knees and swirl your hands up. And then swirl your hands behind you. That's a little bit more difficult. And swirl them to the base, your heels behind you. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Come up. And then come down by the sides. And then come up. And release your hands. Come to the top of the head again and then just brush mentally down, just flicking your hands, brushing down to the ground. This strange exercise is, and then just release your hands, and then just brush almost behind you. It works on the magnetic field. So it actually disconnects you from the vibrations of everyone outside, and then release, and then just brush down the side and come up and then come back down again and lift and roll the shoulders. Breathing in, raising your hands up. Breathing out, lower your hands. Breathing in, raising your hands. And breathing out, lower your hands. Breathing in, raise your hands. And lower. Turn a quarter turn to your right. Breathing in, raise your hands out to the side. Breathing out, bring them to the center. Out to the side. And back to the center. Out to the side. And back to the center. And then lower your hands and turn to face away from you. Do the same as we did at the beginning, so raising your hands up to the side, palms touch. Breathing out, lower your hands back down alongside you. Breathing in, raising your hands up. And breathing out, lower your hands alongside. And breathing in, raise your hands up. And breathing out, lower your hands. Come to another quarter of turn to your right. Starting at the heart, breathing in, hands out. Breathing out, hands back to the chest. Breathing in as you raise your hands, open out. and breathing out as you bring your hands back to the chest. And breathing in, hands out, and breathing out, hands back to the chest. Lower your hands, come back to the beginning, and breathing in, raising your hands up, breathing out, lowering your hands, breathing in, raising your hands up, breathing out, lower your hands. And this time as we breathe in and raise the hands up, hold, reverse your palms and stretch upwards. Breathing out, go to one side. Breathing into the centre, come to upwards, and breathing out, go to the other side. Come to the centre and gently turn to one side. Come back to the centre. If you've got sore backs, the minimal movement on this, it's a turn. Come back to the centre. Lower your hands to shoulder height. Feel the stretch under your arms as you turn your head looking beyond the third finger of one hand. Come to the centre and breathing out, turn to look beyond the third finger of the other hand. And come to the centre. And then lower your hands, lift and roll your shoulders. Place your hands on your waist, feet out, again, sore backs, minimal movement here. Bend your knees and bottom away. You're engaging your abdominal control. And then press your feet down as you come up. Slide your hands down the backs of your legs, bend your knees. And place your hands on the ground. This will be enough for some of you. If you want to carry on, you can widen your feet slightly and bend as much as your knees will allow you, even coming down to a squat. But again, for lower back issues, not come so far. Take an in and an out breath here. And then breathing in, come up slightly if you have not gone down, if you've gone down, and hold the backs of your calves. Bend your knees, bend your elbows, and just roll in the forward bend. Press your feet down and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And then this favourite one, all the joints. And then as you come up, bring your right arm under your left. Hug yourself. Come forward slightly and just rock from side to side. So apart from opening the mid-back, my understanding is that this also activates the vagus nerve, which is key in anti-inflammation and also the calm of the nervous system. And then reaching, standing up, opening your arms outwards. And then this time bring your left arm under your right, hug and come slightly forward as you rock from side to side. And then standing up. Join in with me when you're ready, breathing in, arms up, breathing out, arms back. Breathing in, arms cross, back. Up, back, cross the other arm, back. Up, back, cross, back. Up, down, cross. Up, down, cross. You're alternating your arms. Up, down, cross. 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 And then just swing your arms and then just come to standstill. Breathing in, breathing out, bring your palms to your heart center. Breathing in, raising your arms up, either looking up or looking straight ahead, depending on your neck. Breathing out, really bend your knees as you roll down to touch the ground, or touch your shins. Breathing in, lengthen your spine from the tailbone to the top of the head, bringing your chin in towards your chest. Breathe out, bend your knees and bend your elbows. Breathing in, lengthen along your spine. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, press your feet into the ground as you roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Raising your arms upwards, stretch your fingers, and breathing out, lower your down back alongside you. Breathing in, breathing out, hands together. Inhale, hands up. Breathing out, roll down, bending your knees. Hold wherever is appropriate for you. Breathing in, lengthen your spine. Breathe out, bend your knees, bend your elbows. Breathe in, lengthen your spine. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, bend your knees, press your feet into the ground and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. And one last time, bring the hands together to the chest, heart center. Breathing in, raising back up. Breathing out, rolling down vertebra by vertebra. Breathing in, lengthening along the spine. Breathing out, bending in. Breathing in, lengthen. Stay here as you breathe out. And breathing in, press your feet into the ground, bend your knees and roll up vertebra by vertebra to standing. Hands up. And breathing out, lower your hands back down alongside you. Lift and roll your shoulders. I can't, before we move on, leave without doing one immune booster. So join in when you're ready, breathing in either through your nose, that's the yogic way, or you can breathe out through your mouth, particularly if you're at home, but starting. And last one, and then just go from side to side. A reminder that that is just such a fantastic boost for your lungs on so many levels. And if I need to remind you again, just that the neti pot, or even if you're not a fan of neti pots, buy a saline spray solution that you can get from any chemist to spray up the nose is very effective for anti-bugs. And then just swing your arms. Just circle your wrists up and circle your hands down. You're moving your joints, your fingers and your wrists. So those of you who've been busy working away, this is really helpful for opening the hands and the shoulders as well, the wrists. And then bring your hands to your heart. Breathing in, opening your arms outwards. Breathing out, bringing your hands to your chest. Breathing in, hands forward. Breathing out, hands back to the chest. Breathing in, hands out. Breathing out, hands in. Breathing in, hands forward. Breathing out, hands back. Out. In. Forward. And back. And then come to gently bend your knees to come onto the mat. In tabletop. So hands, shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart. And just start by rockabye baby, swaying your hips from side to side. And then you can carry on rockabye baby, or you can start to make a figure of 8 with your hips and your nose tracing your 8. Your 8 can be tiny or it can be large. A large 8 would see you move back towards your heels and come forward more. So feel that you can adjust your hands to support that movement. And notice that we always choose on our 8, if you're doing a figure of 8, the more dominant side. So it reflects our brain pattern. And of course the invitation is to reverse your 8 if you want to. And just notice again how you fare with this. And then come back to the centre, rockabye baby again. And then come to the centre. As you breathe in, dip your back, look up. So we're in cat. If your neck's stiff, then look along the ground. Breathing out, rounding your back, chin comes to chest. Breathing in, dip your back. And breathing out, rounding chin to chest. And breathing in, dipping your back. And breathing out, rounding chin to chest. Come back to neutral. Slide your right foot back and your heel is up, your right toes are underneath. You can stay like this. If you want to take it a step further, bring your left hand into the midline slightly and turn to your right, lifting your right hand upwards. It's optional. You can bring your right hand optionally over in a side angle pose. And if you want to take it further, you can lift your right heel off the ground. These are all options. And then the final option is to bend your right knee and hold your right shin or ankle and come into a dancer's pose on the ground. And then very gently release and come back to cat, tabletop. Just sway from side to side. As you then slide your left foot back, your left toe is tucked under. You can stay like this. You can alternatively then bring your right hand more to the centre of the mat and turn towards the left, raising your left hand up. You can stay like this. You can bring your left hand over sideways, chin in, palms down. You can lift your left foot up off the mat, and you can then also hold your left ankle to come into dancer's pose variation. And then gently let your left ankle go with control. Come back to cat. Just once more, dip your back and round your back. And then bring your bottom towards your heels. So if your knees aren't great, keep your bottom high and stretch your hands out. You're going into your upper back area here. Take an in and an out breath. And then come back to cat. Dip your back, bottom up. Round your back, chin to chest. Slightly engage your perineum. Slightly bring your tummy or your lower abdominal muscles back towards your spine. Tuck your toes, and this again is optional, to come into your first soft downward dog. Feel that you can adjust your downward dog by walking the dog. You can widen your feet particularly if you've got back issues, and you can bend your knees more, particularly if you've got back issues. Walking the dog, you can sway your hips from side to side. And then bend both knees, stretch your back by bringing your bottom high, away from your wrists. Then straighten your knees and just feel if you've lengthened along your back and stretching out into your calves. Your heels don't have to touch the ground. And then bend both knees and come back to the ground. And then slide your hands towards your knees as you kneel up. Carry on, stretching your hands up, looking either up or ahead. And then breathing out, come back to a tabletop. Breathing in, dip your back. Breathing out, round your back, chin to chest. Come to bring your bottom towards your heels. Stretching out your arms. Come back to kneeling and tabletop. And then as you round your back, chin to chest, tuck your toes. Come into a soft downward dog. And walk the dog a couple of times. Bend both knees back down to the mat. Untuck your toes. Slide your hands back towards your knees as you kneel up. Raising your arms upwards, looking either up or straight ahead. Breathing out, lower your hands back down into cat. Inhaling, dipping your back. Breathing out, rounding your back, chin to chest. Tuck your toes, come into a soft downward dog. Walk the dog a couple of times. And then bend your knees back down to the earth. Uncurl your toes, slide your hands back towards your knees as you kneel up, stretching your arms up and breathing out, coming back to cat or tabletop. This time, bring your hands to the left, and that will allow your right foot to slide up. Hands either side of your right foot. Just explore, because your weight's being supported by your hands, coming forward either to 90 degrees with your right knee or just slightly beyond that. And then come back to the 90 degrees to support yourself as you either kneel up or bring your hands up. And then raising your left arm upwards. And then bringing your left arm to the outside of your right leg. And your right hand goes on your right waist. As you breathe in, lengthen your spine, and breathing out, turn to the right. Just check that your right shoulder is away from the ear. Take an in and an out breath. And then breathing out, come back to have both hands on the floor by your right, either side of your right foot. And optionally, you can extend your right leg and extend your right heel. So one's lunge or one's stretch. Come back to kneeling and then slide your right leg back. Just rock-a-bye baby. And then slide your hands to the right to allow the left foot to come up, hands either side of the left foot. Just stretch into the left hip by coming forward. And then come back to that 90-degree angle to press your left foot into the ground and lift up, raising your right arm. Bring your right arm to the outside of the left thigh, and then your left hand on your left waist. Breathing in, lengthen, and breathing out, turn. Breathing in, lengthen, and breathing out, turn. And then come back to the center. Hands either side of the left foot. And this is optional, it might not suit everybody, to just move back and stretch out one's lunge. your left toes go upwards. Tummy in as you walk back, and then slide your left leg back. Just gently rockabye baby. Just moving your bottom from side to side. And then come into puppy, which is bottom up, hands forward, onto your elbows. You can move your hands out in front of you and just come to, it will be different for everybody, with the bottom up in the air. Your head can come to the mat if it gets there. And then you can wag the dog by just wagging your bottom slightly from side to side. And you'll feel this in your upper back. Tummy comes in, even here. Your perineum engages just slightly, just to support you. And then sliding your hands back to a half cat as you then come onto your bottom and have your legs straight out in front of you. And just bounce your knees. So another immune booster, which is quite pleasurable, I think, is to either pat your legs or rub your legs. So it doesn't just extend to the legs. It's a preference. Some people love patting, some people love rubbing, and you can do a mixture of everything. And it can extend to your tummy, your shoulders, along your hands, wherever you want to. And it's like skin brushing. So it's just boosting your circulation, especially if you're going to be in over Christmas and you need to just freshen up your circulation. It's quite nice. And then hands, I'm going to be very relaxed about the format. I'm not going to insist on that Dandasana hands, but just relax. Toes up and toes away, and toes up and toes away, and toes up and toes away. And then circle your ankles in one direction. And then circle your ankles in the other direction. And then what I call invert evert. So both toes go to one side and then both toes go to the other side. So it's just working your ankles in a slightly different way. And then we don't often do this. Bend your right knee and just hold your right leg. And just with your left hand, circle your ankle however you want to, one way. Just move the ankle in a different way and then circle it in the other direction. And you can rest your ankle on the leg and then thread your fingers through your toes and just bend your toes up and down. Now, I don't know if this is in reflexology, but it's certainly in Chinese medicine, that if you open your toes up, you're boosting your immune system. Is that the same in reflexology?
Well, it's between your toes, it's your sinuses, and then the balls of your feet are your lungs. So I suppose, yes, your upper, yeah.
So it's some people can't bear to put their fingers in their toes.
No, I hate it. Absolutely.
So if you can't bear it, put your hand
over
over
the top
and just do that. Just don't bother with that. And then release and just stretch out your right leg. And of course we're going to do the same with the left by bending up. If you can't bear to thread through your fingers, then just hold your hand over your toes to bend your toes up and down. It really does exercise the toes, because the toes take our entire weight, so just stretching the toes out kind of is, we neglect our toes. And then just circle the ankle in one direction.
Actually, I've just remembered your lymphatic system for your upper body is on the front of your, down between your toes here.
Oh, so bending your toes like that,
so that
the lymphatic system's on the top, so on the top here.
Yeah, it's down. So down between. So if you feel down between your toes, that's your lymphatic system there.
There you are.
On the front,
another
the
boost.
front of your foot. So that is why that's like that.
Okay, so another boost then for you. and then just very, very gently release back down again. And coming to the opposite end of the body, the head, just the eyes are like anything else in our body. They are subject to the food that we eat, the muscle tone. So splashing your face with cold water or having a cold blast in the shower is particularly beneficial for your eye focus because it tightens the muscles. It's also good, which I hadn't realised, for activating the vagus nerve. However, as we haven't got a cold shower, just keeping your head still and bring your eyes upwards to your head still, so it's like a clock, going up to 12 o'clock. Come to the centre and go to 6. Back to the centre, left to, I can't tell the time, 9 o'clock, and then centre and right to 3 o'clock, and centre. Go from 10 past, through the centre to 22, back to the centre, and then 10-2, through the centre to 20 past, and back to the centre. And then of course you can just gently go round the clock, clockwise, smoothly, not jerkily. I tend to jump from 12 to 10 past, but just try and go smoothly. And notice where your eyes feel achy. That's the muscles you don't use, or the focus you don't use quite so much. And then round the other way, anti-clockwise. And then just rub your hands together. You're activating energy points in the hands, they're called nadis. So it creates an electrical pulse. And then if you put your hands over your closed eyes and open your hands into your eyes into your hands, it's very soothing. And then just release your hands off. And then bring your legs into a wide angled V. I'll try not to kick the singing bowl in my water. And just breathing in, raise your hands up. Breathing out, turn to your left leg, place your right hand on your left shin and your left hand behind you. I've got my palms up actually, but you could have your palms down. Up's easier for me. And then breathing in, come to the centre again. Hands up, turn to your right leg, and then your left hand goes on top of your right shin, and your right hand goes behind, palms up. You can even look behind if you want to. Come to the centre, up, and then right hand to the left shin, behind. Come to the centre, and left hand goes to the right shin, behind. One more time each side. And then come to the centre, hands up, bend your elbows, this is for lower back issues, and then bring your hands and walk your hands forward. It can be a relaxed pose. You can also, if you've got long arms, take hold of your big toes with your second and third finger and hold your big toes. Just breathing in and out. And remembering that the nervous system is very much more calmed by a forward bend. And then tummy in, perineum in, to slide or walk your hands up. So there are 5 movements of perfect hip health, and over Christmas we will no doubt be sitting an awful lot. So one of those, bending your knees and bringing the soles of your feet together, is Baddha Konasana. And you don't have to do the classic Baddha Konasana where you hold your toes coming forward, that's stronger. You can slide your hands up to where you feel comfortable. So one of the guidelines for Baddha Konasana, when you're seated, is that your back is straight, which actually then means that you're sitting up a bit more. But just, you can come forward and bend over as well. Just feel that whether you're coming forward and bending, once you're bending over, that your back then is lengthening from the tailbone up to the head, and then bend over. I hope that makes sense, does it? Because it's slightly contradictory, but just slightly lengthen your spine wherever you are. And then your hands, you can use your thumbs to massage. Sue was saying, I don't know if you want to reiterate that, Sue, about points underneath your feet, the solar plexus area.
Oh yes, that's just, so in the middle of the balls of your feet underneath, no, not the middle, underneath the balls of your feet, but in the middle of your foot, if you see what I mean. So that's sort of midway.
So like
I can't
that.
see that.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just there in the middle, so it's sort of equidistant from the sides and the top of your balls of your feet. And if you just press gently there, that activates your solar plexus reflex. And it's if you press too hard, if you're a bit uptight, it actually hurts a bit. So nice and gently, and just rub it around. You can feel a little. If you press hard enough, you can just feel a little slight resistance in there. That means you've actually hit the spot.
So again,
It's
a Christmas calming booster there for you.
It's quite nice to just do that when you go to bed. If you put some cream on your feet and just have a couple of minutes just rubbing your feet and calming your solar plexus before you go to sleep, shall we say.
I love oils and whatever, but of course they get everywhere. And then I know that Phil, if he plays hockey and raises his shins, but then I go and put oil over my side of the leg with all my feet stuff. So
Actually, cream's better at night because it soaks in better. It doesn't make a mess on the sheets.
Better than oil, is it cream?
For the feet, yes, it is actually. Yeah. It just soaks in better.
Better.
I mean, oil is good, but you just get a residue
Everywhere.
there. And it's everywhere. Yeah.
So, having given your feet a lovely rub, this is one perfect hip exercise. It also opens the lower groin area, which is connects into your lymphatic energized system. So another perfect hip pose is just hugging one knee into the chest and the other out, coming forward. Now then, in yoga, they actually bend that knee back, so I can't do it. I find that really uncomfortable. So you can just hug your knee in, and that's again a really nice balancer because you're stretching, in my case, the right side, opening up the right base of the hip. So again, you're giving flexibility. And of course, you can then just stretch out and come to the other side. So I'm not going to suggest that you sit on the floor over Christmas, but actually sitting on the floor against a sofa or a settee or a chair is because the sofa just kind of sinks you in, so that kind of is quite helpful. And then another one that has mixed reception. When I say a double V, like a chevron, you can go to one side like that. You can have a cushion under your bottom because in theory the hip shouldn't be off the ground, but my bottom is slightly off. That is a brilliant hip equalizer. And again, when you're sitting a lot, one of the reasons I'm emphasizing hips so much is because where we age is at the joints. And so when you're not using your hips or your shoulders quite as you used to, the little muscles imperceptibly slightly contract. You wouldn't even notice it. And then it pulls you slightly out of alignment. And the hips are one area, the shoulders are another, but it has the effect of making people bend over and forward as they get older. And once you've started to bend over and come forward, your lungs are being compromised, and then it becomes very hard because you lose power. I know it sounds incredible, but you actually lose power, and then you can't straighten yourself up. So going back to hip movement, this is brilliant. You bring your hands behind you to come back up again, and then of course you can go to the other side. So that's again brilliant for a hip balancing. If you want to stop your hips stiffening up, of course the other one is lying on your back and making circles with your hips. That's a lovely hip opener as well. But just the seated position, this opens you up. It's quite incredible. My mother-in-law, who was quite fit, she's just seizing up. And it's happened so quickly, but especially in lockdown, and her whole body is collapsing forward, and now she's going lopsided. And I think, I can't believe how quickly that's happened. And the principle in Ayurveda is that accumulation. So if you accumulate and stagnate, everything adds on and quickly kind of becomes, out of use. So she can't actually do anything. Everything's forward like this. It's quite surprising. So the next one for hips, which I always should have a bolster here. I'm not great at this. I need lots of cushions to bring me high, but it's basically sitting down between your heels. So I'm not going to suggest you do that and knock your heels out, your knees out. But if you have lots of cushions, so that you're almost sitting up and then slightly sit back, it has your back in a perfect alignment, especially if you've got lower back problems. But you're almost lots of bolsters sitting up, so that you're almost sitting down like a high saddle. But as I said, unless you've got the flexibility, going down low is almost impossible. And then that is kind of end of the hip lesson. There are 5 perfect hip poses, and one of them is also just sitting cross-legged. So that's another one. I don't know if we cross-legged, Baddha Konasana, hugging your knees in, that's 3, the double hips 4, and then the internal rotation with the sitting up on the bolsters, that's 5. So 5 perfect hip exercises for Christmas. But while you're here, breathing in, your head goes to the left, breathing out, head goes to the right. And you can carry on doing that on your own time. In to the left, out to the right. This is a Kundalini exercise in Kundalini Yoga. And the head, it slows your breath down to your movement. It balances your brain hemispheres. It's also a neck exercise. And it tunes into other aspects of, well, as I said, brain balancing, or thyroid and parathyroid glands it balances. So it ticks quite a lot of boxes. And also, as you turn your head from side to side, we're doing it quite slowly, you get that, we're a lot of water, and it kind of rebalances you. I can feel my head just almost being slightly different, if that doesn't sound weird. And then coming back, when you're ready, to the centre. And then coming to hug your knees into your chest slightly and come onto your back. And I talked about the hips. So if you're really knackered over Christmas and you feel that your legs are, you don't fancy those exercises, hug both knees into the chest. As you breathe in, hold the knees and let the knees travel away from you to arm's length. Then separate your knees and open them outwards so that they're in a V, and then hug them as you circle them back in towards your chest. So breathing in, let your knees travel to arm's length, separate them, and then circle them back in again. So just carry on. And that is really one of the most effective hip rotation movements. Pigeon is pretty good, but you've got the weight of your body on top. So if you're, not that anyone here is frail, it can be quite much, but this is a really safe way to keep your hips moving through their full rotation. And in the anti-aging world, that is very helpful. And then you reverse it by hugging your knees into your chest, opening your knees away from each other while they're hugged into the chest, and then circling them up to meet in the middle. So you're just reversing your circle. Hug your knees into your chest, then separate the knees out, and then circle them up. You really, and it's very helpful for the lower back bits as well, really, if you can keep your movement in your hips, you're brilliant for your joint, your hip movement, but also that circling movement in your ankles. We circle our ankles. Again, it's brilliant. And then just very gently support your legs underneath to bring one foot and then the other foot down onto the ground. And we'll focus on the shoulders. So If you can, open your arms out along the mat so that you're in like a T, and palms go up, and then palms go down. Palms turn upwards and almost really turn them upwards so that your little fingers lift up, and then palms turn down and really angle your palms down onto the ground. So you can see as we do this a couple more times that this is rotating your arms and your shoulder sockets in a slightly different way. The other one, if you're standing, is to rotate your arms, swirl it round and round. So lifting your arm up and circling it. But this is one shoulder rotation on one angle. And as I said, this also opens out the shoulders. You've got where the meridians, lung meridians, are where the shoulder joins, the arm joins the shoulder. So you're activating that. And then just bring your arms in and just rest your hands on your abdomen. Just start to sway your knees from side to side. You can have your feet wider than hip width apart. And again, keying into the neck and the shoulder area, as your knees go one way, your head can turn away from your knees. Knees and head to the centre, and then the knees go one way and the head goes the other way. And then just again, swell from side to side. So this again comes into somatic movement, which is, in this instance, anti-aging. And here you've got the wonderful benefit of your spine being held by the floor. I know we're lifting our hips here, but the spine is being held by the floor and you're just benefiting from that movement. And then come to the centre. Cross your right leg over your left. Open your right knee out to the right so that your right ankle is on your left leg, and just sway the knees from side to side. And again, you'll find you're massaging across across the lower part of the spine, top of the bottom. Come to the centre, tummy in, perineum engages, lift both feet and slide your hands down your legs so that you're holding your shins or just above your ankles or just above. So my left hand is holding my right ankle and my right hand is holding my left ankle or shin. And if you bring your hands higher to your shins, you can hug your knees in and you'll feel this on your outer right hip, which is your piriformis muscle, as I understand it, but opening your hip on the outside. And then sliding your feet down to the ground. Unravel, your right leg comes off your left hip. Just sway your feet, your knees from side to side. Your hands can be resting on your abdomen or palms down. And then cross your left leg over your right. And just sway your knees from side to side. And then coming to the centre, tummy in, perineum engages as you lift both legs off the ground and slide your hands down this way. If you have your hands slightly higher, you can hug your knees in, but just choose where it's comfortable. And again, feel the opening, probably more on the left side. And then just very gently unravel, placing your feet on the ground, left foot comes off. And then hug both knees into the chest. Slide your hands down your legs, hold your ankles, and you can either stay like this or you can go into happy baby, so holding under your feet, soles of the feet to the ceiling, knees come down to the floor. You can stay static or slightly rock from side to side. And if you really want to take it a stage further, engage your tummy, engage your perineum, and that will roll you on your spine to slightly lower on the spine, which engages your core. So everything in yoga, you're supposed to engage your core. So you're always supposed to slightly engage your perineum and slightly engage your tummy or lower abdominal muscles at all times. It's very easy to let that go, but I'm giving you a choice. You don't have to, just it's an awareness. And then either stay like that, or you can begin to open your legs. You don't have to hold under the soles of your feet. You can hold your big toes, or just hold your shins to come into a kind of modified inversion. So you can hold your legs, or in a goddess pose. So an inversion is very beneficial for rebalancing the hormonal system, bringing blood, reversing the blood flow, resting your legs certainly, and then you can bring your legs together and clasp your hands under your thighs so that you become like a seaweed, just swaying gently in the water. You can keep a soft bend in your knees. And then gently hug your knees into your chest. Keep your hands on your knees. Hug into your chest as you breathe out. Holding your knees still, let them drift away to arm's length. Hug your knees into your chest and let them drift away to arm's length. And then in your own time, just carry on a couple of times, hugging the knees into the chest. It's very good for your lower back. And as you do this a couple of more times, you might feel the circulation in your back as you're just pressing and releasing. The circulation and blood flow in your spine is being activated, and it's massaging across that L4, L5 lumbar vertebra, which can be so compromised in people with lower back issues. I mean, there are other things that come in as well, but this is just particularly soothing. And you're also tuning into something called the Apana energy, which is in Ayurveda, it's the abdominal energy flow going downwards. So it allows us emotionally to let go of things. And so that's particularly soothing. And then just very gently support your legs under the thighs, bringing one foot and then the other foot back down to the ground. Once more, maybe sway your legs from side to side and choose whether you want to stay with your knees bent, your knees in a pyramid constructive rest pose, or whether you want to come into Shavasana, just resting along the ground. But just take a few breaths to let the movement that we've done today absorb back into the body. And take a moment now to have your wish for the day, your sankalpa. So it's a wish for yourself or for anybody close to you, wishing them some simple wish, something, well, a nice thought for them or you. And then mentally think that again a couple of times to set the attention in your psyche. And then we're going to mentally focus on the centre of the forehead. It's our centre of intuition, our centre of knowledge. The third eye connects into our pineal, also pituitary gland further back. But imagine breathing in through the third eye and breathing out through the third eye. Breathing in only positive things through the third eye to the centre of the forehead, centre of the head, and breathing out again anything that you don't want out of the forehead, going into the air. Drawing in positivity, nice thoughts for the day, and then as you breathe out, let those thoughts float out. And where you are, just imagine now picking colour, your favourite colour for today. And like candy floss, imagine cocooning yourself, wrapping yourself in candy floss. giving you protection for the day ahead, and only letting positive things in and negative things away. Nothing negative can enter. You finish on a positive note. And you can either stay here just relaxing and enjoying letting positive energy vibes wash over you, or you can take your time to come to a seated position to join me to end the class. So if you're going to come to a seated position, you would hug your knees into your chest and really take your time. In yogic tradition, you would roll to your right, which is away from your heart, so it's less strain on your heart to come up to a seated position, or just rock straight up. But if we're being very yogic, then we come up to the side. And you wouldn't rock up, you would take your time to adjust your position, to allow the blood flow to adjust, so that there's nothing sudden. It's all very gentle on the body system. And then coming up to a seated position, I think I'm last. And then taking your hands to your heart, bow for yourself to finish the class. And thank you very much.